And he says, he's not the first one to say this, but he's saying it here. So it says, in order to have financial freedom, right? Everybody wants financial freedom. You have to have financial discipline. So you're having to submit to something. You're having to submit to principles. If you want to be financially free, you're going to have to go ahead and voluntarily submit to some things. In order to have more free time, you have to have disciplined time management, right? If I want to have free time for things that I would really like to do, I have to actually submit to certain strictures that I place upon myself in this life in order to produce that free time. He says you have to take responsibility, and to do that, you have to control your ego, right? Now that's submission. You have to submit yourself in certain instances to certain principles that you know are better than what you might prefer to do in the moment. And the reason you do that is so that your ego doesn't control you. Now he's talking about a Bible principle here, and I don't know that he really knows that. So the idea is, right, discipline and responsibility actually are freedom, because you create room in this life for you to be able to not be in submission to other things that seem like freedom, but they actually don't contribute to your well-being. And that principle is found here, right? These are the types of people that will affirm that freedom actually comes apart from Christ. Well, no, you don't want to be a slave to Christ, right? These are all kinds of restrictions that are put on you. Caleb has rightly reframed that idea that's often put out. Well, Christianity is restrictive. And he said, no, it's constructive, and that's what Jocko Willink, the Navy SEAL veteran, is saying. He's saying, no, it's constructive for you to submit to certain principles that create what it is that you want, the free time and the financial freedom that you desire. And that's what's being said, here, this idea that freedom actually comes without having the responsibility that the gospel might lay upon you. That's a cloud without water. That's a well without water. It says in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 17, these are wells without water, clouds that are carried with a tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. These people are like without understanding, and they're not going to help you either. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were clean escaped from them that live in error. And again, like we were saying earlier, people become Christians, and it doesn't stop the people that are around them, people that are close to them, from trying to feed their advice into their life. And it's like, look, I have another standard, and if you would like to help me refer to that, if you think you have something to tell me that coincides with that, that would be nice. But don't just try to move me away from the thing that I've committed to. But the problem is some people they're not prepared to commit all the way, or they don't recognize when they're vacillating. Like I said, we're going to be talking about that later in part 2. So it is actually the case that being a slave to certain principles enables your life to be injected with freedom in many areas.